The phone call from my ex-wife, Jessica, came on a Tuesday afternoon in early October. The air in my apartment was still and warm, carrying the faint smell of the old building, a mix of dust and the pine-scented cleaner I used. I was sorting my laundry when my phone buzzed on the counter. Her name flashed on the screen, and a familiar tightness settled in my chest. I answered. "Mark," she said. Her voice had no greeting, just a cool, efficient tone I knew too well. "The twins have a half-day at school this Friday. You're scheduled for the weekend. Pick them up at 1 o'clock sharp. Don't be late. I have a planning committee meeting that starts at 1:15. She hung up before I could even say, "Okay." That was our routine. I put the phone down slowly and looked around. My apartment was small, just a living room with a kitchenette, one bedroom, and a bathroom. It was clean and orderly, a habit from my military days, but everything in it was worn. The sofa had a blanket thrown over a thin spot on one cushion. The rug by the door was fraying at the edges. It was a place to sleep and eat, not a home. Not like the home my children lived in with her. My twins, Leo and Maya, were turning 12 that Saturday. For the last 4 months, since the summer, I had been setting aside cash from every paycheck. I kept it in a plain white envelope in the top drawer of my dresser, tucked under my socks. $300. It was the most I'd ever been able to save for their birthday. I worked the night shift as a security guard for a corporate tech park on the edge of the city. My job was to make rounds in a golf cart, checking doors, scanning my badge at checkpoints, and watching monitors that showed empty hallways and dark parking lots. The pay was enough to cover my rent, my old car's insurance, the utilities, and the court-ordered child support that went to Jessica every month. After all that, there was very little left. Groceries were careful, calculated trips. A movie was a rare luxury. But for the twins, I scrimped. Leo, my son, had been talking nonstop about a specific retro video game console. It wasn't a new system, it was a re-release of a classic one from decades ago, loaded with hundreds of old games. He'd seen it online, in videos where people unboxed it with glee. He described the specific blue color of the controllers to me. Maya, my daughter, was different. She was quiet, observant. She loved to draw. For a year, she'd been using a basic set of colored pencils and cheap sketching paper. She'd shown me a professional artist's set in a catalog, a wooden case that opened like a treasure chest, filled with pastels, charcoal, high-quality pencils, and proper blending tools. Her eyes had shone when she talked about it. The $300 was the exact amount, with a little left for a birthday cake and some ice cream. I had it all planned. We would order the gifts together online on their birthday, making an event of it. Then we'd have cake while we waited for the shipping confirmation. It was a simple plan, but it felt solid. The envelope in the drawer was my secret talisman, my proof that I was still a provider, even if my life looked small. Friday arrived, cool and bright. I had slept poorly, anxious about the weekend. I put on my best pair of jeans, the dark ones without any fading, and a clean, navy blue polo shirt. I looked at myself in the small bathroom mirror. My hair was more gray than brown now. Lines were etched around my eyes, deeper than they were a few years ago. I took a deep breath. My car, a 12-year-old sedan, coughed and sputtered when I turned the key. It always did that on the first try. The engine finally caught, rumbling to life. The drive across town took 20 minutes. With each block, the neighborhoods changed. The small apartment buildings and corner stores near my place gave way to wider streets, bigger lawns, and houses with 2-car garages and perfect landscaping. Jessica's house was a 2-story colonial, painted a soft gray with white trim. It was the house Tom, her husband, had bought when they got married 3 years ago. Tom worked in private equity. I'd met him twice, both times during awkward child handoffs in the driveway. He was always wearing a polo shirt with a little logo on it and crisp khakis, even on weekends. He'd given me a firm, brief handshake and a look that wasn't unkind, just utterly disinterested. I was part of the furniture of Jessica's past, something to be managed. I parked at the curb, avoiding the long, paved driveway. I never used the driveway. As I walked to the front door, my stomach was in its usual knot. I never felt like I belonged here. Before I could ring the bell, the large, wood-paneled door swung open. Leo and Maya stood in the entryway, their backpacks at their feet. They were both wearing new-looking jackets I hadn't seen before. Leo's was a puffy blue one. Maya's was a purple fleece. "Hey, Dad," Leo said. His voice was flat. "Hi, Daddy," Maya added, offering a small, tight smile. I stepped forward and wrapped them both in a hug. They accepted it, but their bodies were stiff, their arms hanging at their sides. They didn't hug me back. "Ready for our birthday weekend?" I asked, forcing a cheerfulness into my voice that I didn't feel. They just nodded, picked up their backpacks, and followed me to the car. Leo climbed into the front passenger seat. Maya got in the back. I started the car, and we pulled away from the big gray house. For the first few minutes, we drove in silence. The only sound was the hum of the engine and the faint whistle of air from a window that didn't quite seal. I glanced at Leo. He was staring straight ahead, his jaw set. Maya was looking out the window at the passing houses. Finally, Maya spoke, her voice soft from the back seat. "Mom said we should be understanding this weekend." I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Understanding?" Leo let out a sigh, as if he was carrying the weight of the world. "She said you're having some money troubles again. Those things are tight." He still wouldn't look at me. "She said we shouldn't expect much for our birthday. That we should just be happy to see you." The words landed like physical blows. The air seemed to leave the car. Jessica had prepped them. She had planted the seed of disappointment before they'd even left her house. She had told them their father was broke. It was a strategic move, designed to lower their expectations so that any small gift I gave would seem pathetic, and so that any disappointment would be my fault for being a failure, not her fault for poisoning the well. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles were white. I tried to keep my voice even. "I'm doing okay, guys. Things are steady. And I've got your birthday all figured out. I've been planning it." "Okay," Maya said quietly, but the word was empty. Leo just gave a slight shrug, still staring at the road ahead. The rest of the drive passed in a heavy, suffocating silence. The excitement I'd felt all week, the anticipation of showing them the money and ordering the gifts together, had evaporated. When we got to my apartment building, they trudged up the stairs behind me. Inside, they went straight to the worn sofa and sat down. Leo pulled out his phone. Maya just looked at her hands. "I made your favorite," I said, trying to salvage something. "Peanut butter and banana sandwiches, cut into triangles." I'd even bought the kind of potato chips they liked. They ate politely, saying thank you, but the joy was gone. The weekend I had carefully imagined, a celebration, just the three of us, felt like it had been cancelled before it began. We watched a movie, but the laughter that usually filled the room during our movie nights was absent. They went to bed early, using the sleeping bags I'd laid out in the living room. I sat in the dark, in my one armchair, listening to them breathe, feeling like I had let them down simply by being who I was. Saturday morning, their actual birthday, I woke up determined to push through. I made a big stack of pancakes, their birthday tradition. I found 2 leftover candles in a kitchen drawer, stuck them in the top pancake on each plate, and carried the plates to the table where they sat, already dressed. "Happy birthday to you," I sang, my voice rough with sleep and emotion. They smiled, but it was the polite, careful smile you give a distant relative. They blew out the candles. The silence was awful. After we cleared the plates, I took a deep breath. It was time. I walked to my bedroom and retrieved the white envelope from the dresser drawer. It felt light, insignificant. I carried it back to the living room. "Okay, birthday twins," I said, sitting on the coffee table in front of them. "This is for you." I handed the envelope to Leo. He opened the flap and pulled out the cash. $300 bills. He frowned, looking from the money to me, his brow furrowed in confusion. Maya leaned over to look. "What's this for?" Leo asked. "It's for your presents," I said, my heart pounding. "That special game console you've been wanting, Leo. The Retro Game Pro. And Maya, the full professional art set from that catalog, the one in the wooden case. The money is for both. We can order them right now, together. We can watch the order confirmed screen come up. It'll be our first birthday activity." I looked at their faces, searching for the delight, the surprise. Instead, I saw doubt. They glanced at each other, a silent communication passing between them. "Oh," Maya said finally, her voice soft. Thanks, Dad." Leo just nodded, looking back at the bills in his hand. "Yeah. Thanks." It was clear. They didn't believe me. Jessica had likely told them the console was too rare, too expensive, that the art set was a frivolous dream. They thought I was either lying about what the money could buy or, worse, that I was spending money I didn't have. The gift of cash, instead of being a promise, felt to them like a symbol of my poverty. "Let me show you," I said, my voice too eager. I grabbed my laptop from the small desk in the corner. It was an old, slow machine. I booted it up, the fan whirring loudly. I navigated to the website for the electronics store that sold the console. The page loaded slowly. Then, a message popped up in the center of the screen. "Site down for scheduled maintenance. Please check back later. We apologize for the inconvenience." My heart sank. "It's just maintenance," I said, trying to sound reassuring. "It'll be back up in a few hours. We can order it then." Leo just shrugged again. "It's fine, Dad." The morning was slipping away, heavy with disappointment. "How about we get some air?" I suggested, desperate to change the scene. "We can go to the park, feed the ducks." They agreed without enthusiasm. We drove the short distance to the neighborhood park. It was a nice place, with a playground, a basketball court, and a large pond with a walking path around it. We found an empty bench by the water. I bought a bag of seed from a dispenser, and they half-heartedly threw some to the ducks. I sat between them, my mind racing, trying to think of a way to salvage their 12th birthday. I felt like I was failing them in the most basic way a father can, by not being able to create joy. I was lost in my own thoughts, staring at the ripples on the pond, when Leo nudged me. Look." I followed his gaze to the parking lot. A car was pulling in. Not just any car. It was a silver Bentley, long and low and gleaming in the autumn sun. It looked like a piece of sculpture, utterly out of place among the minivans and older sedans in the lot. It purred to a stop in a space near the path. The driver's door opened. A woman stepped out. She was dressed in a tailored, cobalt blue pantsuit. Her hair was styled in a sharp, modern cut. She wore sunglasses. She closed the car door with a solid thunk and looked around the park as if surveying it. Then her gaze stopped on our bench. She tilted her head. She took off her sunglasses. And she started walking directly toward us. My first feeling was one of mild alarm. Who was this? Was there some problem? Then, as she got closer, past the playground, something about her walk, a confident, purposeful stride, stirred a memory. A deep, old memory. When she was about 20 feet away, recognition hit me like a jolt of electricity. It was Clara. My breath caught in my throat. My mind was thrown back 15 years in an instant. Clara Evans. We had been best friends in college. Inseparable. We met in a freshman philosophy class, arguing about some obscure point, and had been glued at the hip ever since. We were both scholarship kids, perpetually broke. We survived on cheap diner coffee, shared pizzas, and packets of instant noodles we cooked on a hot plate in her dorm room. We spent nights talking not about parties, but about our dreams. Her dream was to start a tech company, to build software that helped people. My dream was music. I played guitar and wrote songs. She was my first and most devoted listener, telling me my lyrics were poetry. We promised we'd always be in each other's lives. But life, as it does, intervened. After graduation, she moved to Silicon Valley to take a risky job at a startup. I stayed, trying to make music work, eventually taking steady jobs to pay the bills. We called it first, then just emails, then just birthday texts, and then nothing. The last I'd heard, maybe 5 years ago from a mutual friend, was that she was doing really well for herself. I'd imagined her in a nice apartment, driving a decent car. I had never, not in my wildest dreams, imagined this. And now she was here, in my local park, walking toward me as if no time had passed at all. "Mark?" she said, stopping a few feet in front of our bench. Her voice was the same, maybe a little deeper, but warm and full of disbelief. Then her face broke into the widest, most genuine smile I'd seen in years. "Oh my God, Mark!" Before I could even stand up fully, she closed the distance and wrapped her arms around me in a tight, fierce hug. I was frozen for a second, the smell of her perfume, something clean and citrusy, bringing back a flood of memories. Then I hugged her back, patting her shoulder awkwardly. She pulled back, holding me by my shoulders, her eyes scanning my face. "I don't believe it. I was visiting a client. Their offices are just a few blocks from here. I needed to clear my head before my next call, thought I'd get some air. And here you are." Her gaze flicked to Leo and Maya, who were watching this scene with stunned, wide-eyed expressions. "And these must be my kids," I said, finding my voice, which sounded hoarse. "Leo and Maya. Today is their birthday. They're 12. Clara's face lit up with a new kind of delight. She turned her brilliant smile on them. "Happy birthday. Wow, 12. Your dad and I used to celebrate everything with giant, disgusting sundaes from the place on campus. The more sprinkles, the better." A small, real smile touched Maya's lips. Leo's guarded expression softened just a fraction. They were captivated. Clara turned her attention back to me, her businesslike energy taking over. "What are you doing right now? Sitting on a bench? On their birthday? No way. Come on, get up. All of you. You're coming with me." "Oh, Clara, we're fine," I stammered, gesturing to the half-empty bag of duck seed. "We were just what? Mark, I haven't seen you in 15 years. You're not getting away that easy. And we are not celebrating my 12th birthday with duck food." Her tone was warm but left absolutely no room for argument. It was the same voice that had convinced me to pull all-nighters to study or to play my songs at an open mic night. "Get in the car." I insist. In a daze, I looked at the kids. They were looking at me, their earlier gloom completely forgotten, replaced by pure curiosity and a spark of excitement. I shrugged, a helpless, happy gesture. "When Clara insists, you listen." We followed her to the Bentley. She clicked a button on her key fob, and the doors unlocked with a soft chirp. Leo and Maya slid into the impossibly soft, cream-colored leather of the back seat, their hands gently touching the polished wood trim. I got in the front. The interior smelled like leather and that same citrus scent. It was silent, a world away from the rattle of my old sedan. Clara drove with easy confidence. "Lunch first," she declared. "I know a place." She drove us downtown, to a part of the city I rarely visited. She pulled up in front of a restaurant with floor-to-ceiling windows and a simple, elegant sign. A valet in a black uniform immediately appeared. Clara handed him her keys with a smile and, "Thank you, Luis." The host inside knew her. "Miss Evans, your usual table is ready. Right by the window." The restaurant was quiet, calm. The tables were spaced far apart, covered in thick white cloth. There were no prices on the menus she handed us. Clara ordered for the table without fuss, sparkling water, a selection of appetizers to share. She then focused entirely on Leo and Maya. "So, Leo, quote, a big year. Your dad said you're into gaming. What are you playing?" Leo, usually shy with new adults, began talking. He told her about the games he liked, the strategies, the stories. Clara listened, nodding, asking smart follow-up questions. She didn't talk down to him. She treated his passion with respect. Then she turned to Maya. "And you, Maya? I hear you're an artist." Maya's eyes brightened. She talked about her drawings, how she loved to sketch animals and trees, how she wished she had better tools for shading. Clara listened just as intently. "Shading is everything," Clara agreed seriously. "It gives life to the lines." She drew me out too, asking about my life in gentle, open-ended ways. "What are you up to, Mark?" When I said I worked in security, she nodded. "Important work. Keeping people safe. That's a skill." She didn't flinch or offer pity. She made my night job sound honorable. For the first time in years, sitting in that beautiful restaurant, I didn't feel small. I felt seen. The kids were laughing, trying unfamiliar foods, their faces alive with interest. The horrible tension of the morning was gone, washed away by Clara's effortless warmth. After we finished an amazing dessert, a chocolate creation that looked like art, Clara leaned back. All right, Phase 2. Presents. She looked at the kids. You didn't think I'd let your birthday pass without presents, did you? Your dad told me what you wanted. Let's go make it happen. Clara, you really don't have to, I began. Hush, she said, waving a hand. This is my birthday gift to myself. Seeing you all. Now come on. Our first stop was a massive electronics superstore. Clara marched in, the kids and I trailing behind her like ducklings. She found a sales associate. We're looking for the Retro Game Pro console. The anniversary edition. The young man looked apologetic. I'm sorry, ma'am. Those have been sold out for weeks. We might get more after the holidays. Clara gave him a kind but steely smile. She pulled out her phone, tapped the screen a few times, and held it to her ear. Hi, is this the regional manager? This is Clara Evans. I'm in your store on Grand Avenue. I need a Retro Game Pro, the anniversary edition, today. Wonderful. You do? In the back? For a display? Perfect. We'll take it. Yes, we can wait. Thank you so much. She hung up. The clerk's eyes were wide. 5 minutes later, the manager himself came out, holding the bright blue box. Leo's hands trembled as he took it. He held it like it was made of glass. Next was an art supply store that was more of a warehouse, a place real artists shopped. The aisles were towering with papers, paints, and tools. Clara found a woman with paint smudges on her apron. We need to build a professional starter kit for a young, serious illustrator, Clara said, gesturing to Maya. The woman's face lit up. My favorite project. For the next 20 minutes, she guided us through the aisles, picking out a beautiful wooden case, then filling it with professional-grade graphite pencils, charcoal sticks, a set of pastels, blending stumps, a kneaded eraser, and several pads of high-quality, thick paper. Maya watched, mesmerized, as the case transformed into a treasure chest of potential. She clutched the heavy box to her chest, her eyes shining. The trunk of the Bentley was now full of bags and boxes. The drive back to my apartment was filled with the kids' excited chatter. They were planning their afternoon, talking about setting everything up. The world had been remade in the space of 2 hours. Clara pulled up in front of my building. As we unloaded the gifts onto the sidewalk, she turned to me. She reached into the inside pocket of her suit jacket and pulled out a simple, thick-stock white business card. It had only 2 things on it: her name, Clara Evans, and a phone number. That's my personal cell, she said, pressing it into my hand. I'm based in San Francisco, but I'll be here for a few weeks, wrapping up this project. Call me. Let's have dinner. Or just coffee. No more losing touch, Mark. That's an order. I nodded, the card feeling solid and real in my palm. I will. I promise. She pulled me into one more brief hug. It was so good to see you. She waved to the kids. Bye, birthday twins. Be good for your dad. He's one of the very best people. She got into the Bentley and drove away with a quiet purr. We stood on the sidewalk, surrounded by the evidence of the astonishing afternoon, watching until her car turned the corner and disappeared. Back in the apartment, the energy was completely different. The gifts were piled in the center of the living room floor. Leo and Maya looked at me, their earlier doubt replaced by pure awe. Dad, Leo said, his voice full of wonder. Who was that? I sat down on the floor with them. That was Clara. We were best friends in college. Like brother and sister, almost. We lost touch a long time ago. She's really rich, Maya stated, running her hand over the wooden art case. She's really nice, Leo corrected, already carefully opening the console box. She listened to me. Like, actually listened. I smiled. She always did. She's a good person. Success didn't change that. The rest of the day was perfect. We set up the console on my small TV. The sounds of the classic game music filled the apartment. Maya spread out her new materials on the kitchen table and began sketching the view from the window with her new charcoal. The apartment was filled with concentration and happy noise. We ordered pizza for dinner, a birthday tradition, and ate it right out of the box. When it was time for bed, they were both exhausted but buzzing. Maya hugged me around the neck. Thank you for today, Daddy. It was the best birthday. Leo, not usually as physically affectionate, gave me a solid, one-armed hug. Yeah, did. Thanks. That was awesome. I tucked them in. Happy birthday, you too. I love you. Love you too, they murmured, already half asleep. I sat in my armchair in the dark again, but this time the feeling was completely different. The room was peaceful, full of the quiet happiness of my sleeping children. The business card was on the side table. I looked at it, still unable to fully process the day's turn of events. On Sunday afternoon, the mood was light as we packed their things. They carefully reboxed their gifts to take home. When we pulled up to Jessica's big gray house, they were practically bouncing. They tumbled out of the car, grabbing their backpacks and boxes. Mom, you won't believe it. Leo called as they ran up the front steps. The door was open. Jessica was standing in the foyer. I got out more slowly, gathering the rest of their things from the back seat. I could hear their overlapping voices from inside. And this lady in a Bentley just pulled up and hugged Dad. She knew all about the console. She called the manager. My art set is professional, Mom. Look at the paper. I walked up to the doorway, holding Maya's sleeping bag. Jessica was standing there, holding the art case, her face a frozen mask. Her eyes flicked from the expensive wooden box in her hands to Leo, clutching the bright blue console box, to me on her doorstep. Her expression cycled through shock, disbelief, and then a sour, tight-lipped anger. She handed the art case back to Maya and stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind her, leaving the kids inside. What is this, Mark? She hissed, her voice low and venomous. What game are you playing? Did you rent a car for the day? Borrow some friend to play act for the kids? This is cruel. Getting their hopes up with some charade. I met her gaze evenly. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel defensive. I felt calm. The kids had a wonderful birthday, Jessica. That's all that matters. They're happy. They felt special. That was the goal. She stared at me, searching for a lie, for a crack in my story. She found none. Her eyes narrowed further. This isn't over, she said quietly, before turning and going back inside, shutting the door firmly in my face. I walked back to my car. As I drove away, I didn't feel the usual weight of inadequacy. I felt light. On Tuesday, my day off, I stared at the business card for a long time. Finally, I picked up my phone and dialed the number. It rang twice. Mark. Clara's voice answered, warm and expectant. How did you know it was me? Best, surprised. I programmed your number in after I looked up your records from the park project's visitor log, she said, matter-of-factly. I'm a CO, Mark. I'm resourceful. So, coffee? We met at a small, independent cafe near the tech offices. We talked for 2 hours straight, the years melting away. She told me about her journey, the risky startup that took off, the struggles, the eventual massive success, the sale of her first company, and now her role as CEO of an even larger firm she was building. She also mentioned, casually, that she was divorced. He wanted a different life. Less boardrooms, more beach houses. It was amicable. She asked about me. I told her about my military service after college, meeting Jessica, the twins, the slow drift apart, the divorce, the struggle to stay present in my kids' lives from a position of financial weakness. I didn't sugarcoat it. It felt easy to tell her. And the music? She asked, stirring her latte. I looked down at my hands. I sold my last good guitar about 6 years ago. When Maya needed braces. It just wasn't a priority anymore. She was quiet for a moment. That's a real shame, she said, and her voice held no pity, only a sincere sense of loss. You had a gift. Truly. I still remember that one song about the train station in the rain. I was stunned she remembered. A lump formed in my throat. You remember that? Of course I do, she said, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. We started seeing each other regularly, as the old friends we were. She came over for simple dinners I cooked. She laughed at my tiny kitchen and rolled up her sleeves to help. She never acted like she was slumming it. One evening, she saw the old beat-up acoustic guitar leaning in the corner, a cheap one I hadn't sold. Play something, she said. Clara, it's been years. Play. So I did. My fingers were stiff, the chords were rusty, but I stumbled through a few old songs. She listened with her eyes closed, a small smile on her face. When I finished, she opened her eyes. Still there, she said softly. The music is still in there. Her belief was a quiet, powerful force. I started practicing again, tentatively at first, then with more purpose. The calluses came back on my fingertips. About a month after the park, she came over after one of her long workdays. She looked tired but focused. Mark, I want to talk to you about something serious. A business proposition. I poured her a glass of water and sat down. Okay. My company is expanding its physical security division. It's not just guards. It's about designing secure systems for data centers, managing teams, auditing protocols, planning for emergencies. It requires intelligence, integrity, calm under pressure, and an ability to lead people. I need a director of security operations. I've been watching you. I've listened to you talk about your work, your military training, how you handle your kids with such patience. You have all of those qualities. I was speechless. The salary is significant, she continued, naming a figure that made my head swim. It was more than triple what I made now. There would be benefits, stock options. You'd have a team, an office. We'd train you on the specific tech aspects. But the core of the job, protecting what's important, being trustworthy, that's something I can't train. You already have it. Will you consider it? It wasn't charity. She was offering me a job, a real career, based on what she saw as my merits. It was the greatest vote of confidence I had received in my adult life. Yes, I said, my voice firm. Yes, I will. The change was gradual but profound. I gave notice at the security company. I started the new job. The first few weeks were a steep learning curve, but I had good teachers, and my natural meticulousness served me well. The first paycheck hit my bank account, and I just stared at the number for a long time. I moved out of the old apartment. I found a nice 2-bedroom townhouse not far from Jessica's neighborhood, so the kids could still have their own rooms when they visited. It had sunlight and space. I bought a new, reliable car. Most importantly, the child support I sent to Jessica increased automatically with my income. She could no longer claim I wasn't providing. The extra money also meant I could say yes when the kids wanted to go to the movies, or to a theme park, or when Maya needed new soccer cleats. I wasn't just scraping by, I was building a life. Jessica was predictably furious. She couldn't attack the money, so she attacked the source. She made snide comments to the kids about Daddy's rich girlfriend and handouts. But the kids saw the truth. They saw me happier, more confident, more present. They saw that Clara was my friend, a steady, positive presence, not a romantic partner. They loved her. Her cool energy never wavered. My friendship with Clara remained exactly that, a deep, platonic friendship. We had history and understanding. We supported each other. We had both been through hard times and come out the other side. We were anchors for one another. 6 months after the day in the park, it was a bright, warm Saturday in April. I picked up Leo and Maya in my new SUV. We were going to a big outdoor spring festival in the city park, the same one where our lives had changed. Is Clara meeting us? Maya asked, tying a sweater around her waist. She is, I said, smiling. We found her near the main stage where a local band was setting up. She was dressed more casually than I'd ever seen her, dark jeans, sneakers, a simple black t-shirt. She looked younger. She waved when she saw us. We walked over. She hugged me first, a quick, warm squeeze. Then she turned and hugged Leo and Maya, who had grown comfortable with her affection. Look at you two. You've both gotten taller, she said. We found a spot on the grass and spread out a blanket. The band started playing good, solid, joyful music. Leo went to check out a gaming booth nearby. Maya started sketching the band in a new sketchbook from her professional set. Clara sat next to me, sipping a lemonade. You look good, Mark, she said. I feel good, I said. And I meant it. I looked at my children. Leo was laughing at something, his face open and happy. Maya was lost in her art, a look of deep contentment on her face. Clara was beside me, a steadfast friend who had thrown me a lifeline when I didn't even know I was drowning. The music washed over us, a soundtrack to a life that had been put back together. Sitting there on the grass, I understood something with perfect clarity. The woman in the Bentley hadn't just pulled up and hugged me. She had pulled up and reminded me of who I was. She had reminded my children who I could be. I wasn't the broke, failing man my ex-wife had described. I was a father, a friend, a capable person. The money and the job were just the outward signs. The real change was inside. The band launched into a particularly upbeat song. Maya looked up from her drawing and smiled at me. Leo came back and flopped onto the blanket. Clara tapped her foot in time with the music. I closed my eyes for a second, feeling the sun on my face, listening to the music, surrounded by my people. I hadn't been broke. I had just been lost. And now, finally I was found.